when we started this, I have to say, we were both, like, I was finishing up school.
Yes.
We'd just gotten married the year before, and we were both working part-time. Like, the thought of paying out of pocket and funding our own documentary was crazy.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Witt.
Welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and today I have some special guests with me where we're going to be talking about documentaries. We have not had too many guests that talk about documentaries, so I'm excited to really dive into this today. Cole Dempsey and Hannah Elif Dempsey are an award-winning husband and wife filmmaking team based in Dallas, Texas. Together, they co-lead Rabbit Trail Productions, a creative studio specializing in faith-driven films and cinematic storytelling, and Rabbit Trail Media, and DFW Marketing and Media Company. Cole is a director, writer, cinematographer, and editor with a degree in digital cinematography from Full Sail University. Hannah, a producer and assistant director with a background in film production and graphic design degree from Collin College, manages the behind-the-scenes coordination that brings their shared vision to life. Through Rabbit Trail Productions, they create purpose-filled narratives that inspire, uplift, and resonate with global audiences across platforms. Welcome to the podcast, Cole and Hannah. It's really cool to be able to talk with you again. Cole, I met you years ago. I think it was 2021 at a conference in Texas. We were at Content Media Conference.
Yep.
And, I think a lot of our guests, and I guess a lot of the contacts that I have in the industry are people that I met at conferences.
Right.
And so for you guys, with all of the work that you do, how did you get started? Let's maybe back up and hear your origin story. How did you get into this field and do what you do today?
You want to start, Hannah?
Well, you can start. Let's go further back.
Okay, yeah. Funny enough, my desire to be a filmmaker started when I was 5. My mom invited me into the living room to watch a behind-the-scenes documentary on how they made Star Wars. And I was a Star Wars fanatic. I love Star Wars. Everything I played was Star Wars. And so when I saw the behind the scenes, it didn't ruin the magic for me. In fact, it made it more interesting to me. I'm like, that's what I want to do. Fast forward, years and years and years. I grew up in West Texas where being a filmmaker or Hollywood was, I might as well have been born on Tatooine, right?
Right.
And I felt like Luke, just in the middle of nowhere, wanting to be a part of something much bigger than myself. I was never interested in film. I can't say never interested in film when I was younger to be famous. I just kind of grew out of that filmmaker desire when I just thought, oh, this is never going to happen.
Right. You want to pursue something realistic, right?
Yeah, I did run off and join the military. I was in the medical field, and I wanted to do something bigger than myself, like I said. But when I got out, I gave my life to the Lord on the way out of the military. I'd walked away from the Lord while I was in the military, and partied all the time and all that stuff. So when I came to know the Lord, I was like, well, golly, I'm in California right now. Maybe I can start modeling or acting and stuff. And then I went to my first modeling audition, and I realized it was a scam.
Oh.
And so it scared me so much that I just left. I never tried anything else. And I wound up going in ministry for a while. But after 13 years, I was like, wait, I have walked away from this, what I felt like was a calling since I was 5. I feel like now's the time. Every job I had ever had, all I dreamt about was making films and acting. That was all I could ever just dream about. And while I was working some jobs, I started script writing for the first time, And I thought, well, I might as well try acting. And so about 11 years ago, I started acting and realized, well, and at this point, I'm a single dad, right? So went through divorce. Now I'm taking care of 3 kids on my own. And I couldn't just run off to film school like I wanted to. So I found that there was a desire in me to be an actor. But being in Dallas, Texas, there wasn't as many opportunities to act. So
Mhm.
I thought, well, maybe I should write myself some short films so that I can make an acting demo reel. And then I realized I loved to write.
Mhm.
And then from there, I decided, well, I'm not going to leave my kids. I'm not going to walk away from them. I'm not going to walk away from my responsibility. So what can I do in my situation right now that will help me pursue this calling to be in film, but yet still take care of my responsibilities as a father? And so I decided, well, I know Full Sail University has an online program, and I know that kind of sounds weird to a lot of people. Oh, you went to film school online? Yes. And instead of working on some big film sets with a bunch of, cast and crew, it was just me. And I wore every
Mhm.
hat, and it was, more run and gun kind of situation.
Yeah, yeah.
And my kids were my first casting crew
Uh-huh.
when I
Nice.
started that.
I think that there is value in any learning opportunity, whether
Mhm.
you're learning online or learning, at a bigger school or whatever. It's more about the work ethic that you put into it because
Yeah.
sometimes the people who are self-taught, if they've really put in that diligent effort and found a mentor, they can go so far
Right.
in a way that they may not have been able to had they gone a school route. And so that's not to say anything negative one way or the other, but just to recognize like everybody's learning experience and style and all of that is different. Like I did that too, where I was self-taught for a long time. And then when I decided to pursue as a career, I went and I found a mentor. And that mentor had the education and everything that would, he actually was a professor that if I had gone and taken his classes, I could have done that. But in my situation, he said, well, you're already farther along than you would need to be in my class. So let's just work, one to one. And so I actually think that I got a better education in that
Yeah.
scenario.
And
Yeah.
there's no one way.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are perfectly successful without film school. For me, the reason why I did it was because I did the whole YouTube university, right? I watched thousands of hours of video to try and learn to be a filmmaker in my spare time. But what I wanted from school was someone to go, okay, do this. Now do this.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
now do
Break
this.
down that
Yeah,
learning process.
and I needed the structure. That was just
Yeah.
me. That doesn't mean that I think everyone needs to do film school. But after about halfway through, I met Hannah, and she decided to go back to school for graphic design.
Well, I had already been doing that. I was actually in another career, and just a chain of events led me to go back to school. And I did. I had been to college many years before. I had for art and did graphic design work. And I knew some of the programs. I didn't know all the programs, but it just worked out to go back. And the Lord just through a chain of events really spoke to me about going back just to upgrade my skills and pick up, some more skills and learn and get mentors through that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I did, and I was in a storyboarding class.
Yeah.
And Cole was like, "Oh my gosh," he was so excited because it was just
Neat.
the film was his thing, and this, I was just going to do graphic design, and like I can help you with, title sequence or whatever. But he really began to formulate this vision of us doing it together,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I started
Whatever.
seeing where your skills matched up with my skills where I was lacking,
Yeah,
and my skills matched up with yours where yours was lacking. And so it just kind of
Perfect.
fit together
Yeah.
as this beautiful
Yeah.
and
puzzle piece.
yes, and so as we went on, eventually I began to see that, and I learned to set up the lighting. I learned, because at first he would do all that. And then we started seeing, he had so much going on when we were filming. There would be like one time we were filming something and some of the lights had just turned off and I wasn't paying attention because it wasn't really, he was so busy with the cameras. And so from that.
And there's a story with that.
Yeah, there's a story with that. But from that, I said, well, what if I start learning the lighting? And so I started setting up lighting and learning and working with him. And I realized
really, really good.
I loved it. I mean, I have a background also, and I used to co-own a photography studio. And with the graphic design, I mean, the elements of design are the same all across the board. And so I started realizing my background in history and education really overlapped with the filmmaking. And I realized I loved it. I loved the storytelling too. And I loved, working with him and doing these videos and whatever we did. And we work with a musician and have done several music videos. And the first one, because of that and because of some language differences, not that, I mean, he spoke English, but he used different words for film stuff. And anyway, but once we got that worked out and once we got where I could be the one who goes, okay, Cole, so now we're going to do this. And now it's almost like sometimes my job is like AD/script supervisor. I don't know. It's like I'm doing both, on smaller sets, which I've done script supervisor on other film productions. Like people have hired me to do that and I really like it. But so we laugh because I'm his translator,
Well, as long as you guys laugh about it, you know, I think that's one of those things where, working with your spouse, it comes with its own challenges because you have so many things, right, that your lives are bringing together. So working together, when you can find that way to have that strong working relationship and to lean on each other and to recognize each other's strengths as you have, like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you. And we both love collaborating with other people. And I don't really have a lot of pride wrapped up in it. And what I do, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not prideful about what I'm doing. I'm just so excited to do film and direct or do cinematography. So it's all exciting to me. And I don't have to do everything. Yeah, at first I felt like I had to do everything because that's what I did. I did that.
Yeah, at the beginning.
That was an issue too, is that he had done everything by himself. And so then when I started to come in, then he would just automatically, we had already agreed, look, I'll take care of the lighting. He always said, great, that's a great idea. But then we would get on a situation like the music video set or some other set that we're doing. And then he would just start like doing the lighting. And I'm like, wait, I'm doing that. I got it. Focus on the cameras,
Yeah.
I'll get this.
Yeah,
so it was
there's
a learning
always
curve.
going to be like, a learning curve, a bit of transition of figuring out how this actually plays out.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I remember, when we were in the beginning, we were trying to come up with a production name, and then in college, you have to just basically, it's like your name, production company. So it was initially Cole Dempsey Productions. And I didn't want to do that. And so we were praying about, God, what do we do? And I came up
with brainstorm and we talk and we'd give ideas like, what about this?
Like,
no,
what about this?
Yeah. I mean, over
almost like picking names for your baby.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, just like over a several week period, we've just, how about this? No, it doesn't do it for me.
And then, we were having this conversation and we like to rabbit trail. Not that we like to, we just do. We start here and then we wound up over here, but we always come back to the thing. And so I think I just made this offhand.
It was a joke.
It was a joke. Like, it'd be funny if we called ourselves Rabbit Trail Productions. And Henry goes, that's it.
I was like, it sounded so good. I love it.
Yeah. So that's how it came about. And, just kind of poking fun at ourselves. And, we take what we do serious, but we don't take ourselves
I love
too
that.
serious. Try not to anyway.
That. Yeah.
That's such a great attitude because it's like, okay, I'm over me. I am all about this project. I think it really adds to the work because you get yourself out of the way. Like you said, it's not about pride. It's not about that. So it really lets you dive wholeheartedly into the project where you're able to hear other people give you advice or suggestions or whatever. And, I find too, like, I crave that at times where it's like, I just want this to be the best that it can. Can somebody please poke holes in my project so I can fix them?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we do with each other. That's exactly what we do.
We do.
Now, I don't always like it,
Yeah.
but I ask for it.
Yeah.
It makes a better project. We've realized, I heard one time Jordan Peterson, I think he had made a comment about marriage and said that struggle makes you a better person, like that iron sharpens iron. And I don't know if he used that term, but it was what I took from it was, in a marriage, whenever you can stand up, not arguing and mean and insulting, but in a respectful way at times, it makes you a better person. And in the same way, I see the projects, we have hashed through things. There have been times where we argued and we had to kind of go, let's wait and let's just pray. And he's disagreed with me, I've disagreed with him. But we always were able to come back and negotiate.
Yeah.
We were negotiating with each other and came to a conclusion throughout, and it made a better project. I look back and go, wow, that was a better project.
Yeah.
Because of me holding to my convictions about something that I was like, no, this really needs to be this way, or him holding to his convictions and saying, no, this really needs to be this way. And that's good. That's good, whether it's your spouse or a business partner or a producer, two producers or whatever.
And I think that would be a good segment into our first project. Now, we did some short films and stuff while I was when I was going through film school. She came on board and started helping me. And, we did this cute little short film.
Yeah,
called
we did several.
Yeah, I was able to have my first on-screen kiss. That was really awesome.
It's funny.
There's really hardly any words in there, but that's what I wanted. I wanted something a little bit more, the facial expressions and the awkwardness of getting out of your comfort zone to talk to someone that you think is really special. That's kind of what it's about. And so that was one of the first project you helped me with.
And we did several, and then several little short things filmed together.
Yeah.
And then
the homeschooling document.
Yeah. You did that without me, but
you were in it. Yeah.
That was you were
star.
But ultimately, I've been involved in this initiative. It's a kind of a ministry, but it's a initiative involving many ministries in the body of Christ for many years. And this is leading up to our first big project that we did. And a lot of people have trouble understanding it. And so one day he goes, what is, this ministry? And we were sitting in the car and I explained it and he got it. And he goes, this is huge. This is so important. It's prophetic and for the return of Christ and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, it's really big. And so he talked to the guy that one day we saw him that really had the vision for this many years ago. And he said, y'all need to do a document. And Cole, at this point, Cole was in school. I was still in school. We were both working full time. We were married. He was like, he's the visionary. He was like, we got to do a documentary about this. He goes, yeah, that'd be a great idea. You should do that. And then Cole was saying to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to cost a lot of money. He was going to fund that. And he said it a few times, yeah, it'd be great if we could do that. So it was a year later in 2020, the beginning of COVID had just hit. And I was praying one day, and it's when God, I don't know if this has ever happened to people, but when God drops something on you and it's everything all at once. It was, and he dropped on me this download out of the blue. We hadn't even been talking about making this documentary. We had not talked about it since he mentioned it a year before. I didn't think anything else about it because of the cost. Obviously, that would cost a lot of money. And the Lord dropped it, and it was everything we would do, I could do this, he could do this, I could do this, he could do, but it was all at once. And it's God showed me with our skills, we could do this. Now, he didn't show me what it was going to cost, and he didn't show me everything that we would really do.
It's probably good that he didn't get.
Because I would have been like, no, what are you talking about, God?
Yeah.
But it's over that next year. So I told Cole, and we were both like, whoa. And so we kind of filmed this little short to present to this ministry. And they were like,
and to kind of propose it to the ministry leaders that are involved to say, hey, so this is kind of what we're thinking.
We get your blessing to
Can
do
we
it.
get your blessing? Yeah.
Yeah, and so we did, and they loved it, and they said, yeah, go ahead. And the Lord provided. I mean, it was just like after that, the Lord started providing. And one interesting story of the Lord's provision.
When we started this, I have to say, we were both, like, I was finishing up school.
Yes.
We'd just gotten married the year before, and we were both working part-time.
Yeah, still.
Like, the thought of paying out of pocket
Yeah.
and funding our own
Yeah.
documentary was crazy. Again, we were on Tatooine, right? We're just so far away from
Yeah.
figuring out how to do this.
And then my company hired me full-time. I finished, and they wanted to hire me.
And then my company hired me.
And they had me right in the middle of COVID, and they were on a hiring freeze, and they hired him full-time. It's amazing.
Wow.
But another thing, there were so many cool things God did during the production. And of course, we both were working at that point full-time. And so the production went very slowly, it did.
But the ministry leaders said, I'm going to help you schedule interviews to everyone
Wow.
that was in there.
Yep. And pre-production went very fast, just because.
And what's the title? Sorry, just to make sure that our audience knows what project we're talking about. What's the title of this project?
So this is called One New Man.
Yeah, the full title is One New Man, a TJC2 documentary series.
One example of something that God did, we actually hired a composer that we had met at Content. He came back and he goes, hey, his name's Jaclyn. He goes, so I just got back from the Czech Republic, and I worked on this film set, and
Well, he worked with the Philharmonic.
with the Czech Philharmonic, but it was on another film project that
Yeah.
he came out and just helped for only this amount. You could fly me out to the Czech Republic and get this all recorded by a live, orchestra.
Yeah. The Prague
Amazing.
Metropolitan
Philharmonic. And so,
Uh-huh.
and of course, I'm like, that's cute. That's a lot of money. Don't you think that's excessive? And so we go back and forth. And so we're hashing, and he did not let it go.
like a dog with a bone.
Like we hashed through for a while. And then one day we're talking to our friends, and he goes, something about it. And I kind of probably said some negative comment about it's going to be so expensive. We're not doing that. And he goes, but how can I give something to the Lord that doesn't cost me anything? And I was just like, ugh.
Oh.
And just this conviction came, and
Yeah.
and I just felt like, yeah, okay, we need to do this. And I'm really glad he held on to that he didn't just give up. Sometimes people will just give up and go, fine, but he never did. And he held on to that. I'm really glad he did, because right after that, it was like a month later, or maybe it was a couple weeks later, very shortly after that, I got a bonus that was the exact amount. My
Wow.
boss called me in and said, hey, here's this bonus. And it was a big bonus at my company.
Uh-huh.
I was like, whoa. And so I
Amazing.
just saw, okay, that was the Lord that he provided. And so
Amazing.
we just gave it back to him. And it's beautiful. The music's beautiful. And I'm glad he pushed,
Yeah.
And so the Lord did, throughout this whole filming, he did a lot of really cool stuff. He really increased our faith. And we realized this is just our first fruits, to the Lord,
Right,
this project.
yeah.
And not that everything will be on a biblical topic or about a ministry. We have other plans, but we do have some stuff in the works that are still kind of a documentary style. Like we have a series in the works that we're talking about that we want to start putting out.
The documentary One New Man it is about the one new man, right? Jew and Gentile in the body of Messiah, reconciling for 1,600 years of persecution against the Jewish people and not allowing the Jewish people to come to faith and stay Jewish. We have such a love for the Jewish people. Neither one of us are Jewish. We're Christian. And so doing this documentary about the one new man was completely unexpected, but it went right in line with this love that God had placed on our heart for the Jewish people for our whole lives.
Where God had called both of us separately. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, this is a perfect place to pause our interview, and we can dive more into that project, getting to know more about your heart and maybe even some of the people who were involved. And of course, I'm sure there must have been things that went wrong along the way and how you dealt with all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll dive into that in our next episode. So I want to thank our listeners for listening, and I would encourage you to tune in for our next episode with Cole and Hannah.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.